Om Sadashiva-Samarambham Shankaracharya-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Okay, so last time we completed the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, and today we are actually going to start with the Bhagavad Gita. So, um, as mentioned in closing last time around, we've covered a comprehensive set of topics. I think really just through this vision that Puja Swamiji has established through his introduction, and generally speaking, even some of the other topics that we discussed sort of piecemeal and sort of stitched them together in the last few sessions. The vision of Vedanta is already there. We have discussed the core content of Vedanta. We have discussed about the Atma. We have discussed about everything that one needs to attain mukti right here in these, I would say, 45, 46 sessions. So then one might wonder that what is the point of studying the Gita? The Gita is going to elaborate everything that we spoke about in far greater detail. But this time around, as we study these teachings, the shlokas, the very Upadesha of Bhagavan Krishna, everything will start to fit together. Because right now it might be loosely held, not very well glued together, but this is going to put it all in one place using a comprehensive framework by putting ourselves in the place of Arjuna and studying from Krishna Bhagavan. So, based on that, we are ready to begin. I can just start chanting the first shloka of the Gita. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsuvaha Mamaka Pandavashtraiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. But I made a bit of a mistake. I did not say Dhritarashtra Uvacha. And, and as we saw in the last session, Dhritarashtra serves as a Mangal Suchak, a Mangalacharana, because it refers to Bhagavan in all of his glory as the upholder of the cosmic order. So let's do it again. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsuvaha Mamaka Pandavashtraiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. So as we read these shlokas, this is chanted in a certain chanda. Chanda is a meter, and this is called Anushtup Chanda. So the way to understand Anushtup Chanda, and this will become very easy to read the verses if one has an understanding of how it is structured, is it comprises of 32 syllables. And you can break it down into quartets of 8. So 8, 8, 8, 8. So you can try along, right? Just see it in your mind, like how many syllables there are. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, right? So that's 8. Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. That's another 8. Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, another 8. Kima Kurvata Sanjaya, another 8. So all of these together become 32. So sometimes when you have difficulty, especially like with not having a lot of exposure to the language and the vocabulary of Sanskrit, you may wonder, where do I put a pause? And these, when you like do it as these beats of 4 or beats of 8 different measures, it will make it very easy and natural for you to know what a stopping point is before you move on to the next set of syllables. So this is what you call Anushtup Chanda. And it is one of the most common meters that we use for chanting. Vishnu Sahasranam is Anushtup Chanda, the Bhagavad Gita, of course, Ramayana, Aditya Hridayam. A lot of things are Anushtup Chanda. So it's very useful to know what the Anushtup Chanda is. Okay. So if you would like to start reading.
Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, what indeed did my people and the Pandavas do, assemble at Kurukshetra, the abode of Dharma, desiring to fight? In the Indian tradition, any beginning begins with a prayer. Being in the middle of the Mahabharata, the Gita does not require a beginning prayer of its own.
Sorry.
Yeah. Still, for this chain of 18 chapters, for this pendant jewel, placed against the background of the much larger epic, it seems that a prayer should be there, and it is implied in this first verse. A prayer can either can be either expressed or implied. The first word of the Gita, Dhritarashtra, is a prayer by implication. It means the one who sustains a kingdom or the whole universe, yena dhritam rashtram. It is therefore an appropriate name for a king. Had Dhritarashtra not been blind, he would have been the ruler of the kingdom. Kurukshetra exists even today between Delhi and Ambala. Then great King Kuru, the founder of the Kuru dynasty, performed great tapasya here. It is said that once when he was plowing the land with a golden plow, Lord Indra came down and asked what he was doing. When the king told him that he was sowing the seeds of Dharma, Lord Indra gave him the boon that the seed of Dharma sown there would grow forever. Rashtra also refers to the world, the entire universe. The Lord is the one who is the holder, the sustainer of the order that is the world. Therefore, Dhritarashtra is also the name of the Lord. By beginning the Gita with the name of the Lord, the traditional opening prayer is implied. The opening scene of the Gita takes place in the palace in Hastinapura, the capital of the kingdom of the Kauravas. This was the kingdom that the Pandavas were supposed to rule, but which was now ruled by their cousin Duryodhana, who had usurped the kingdom. As we have seen, the Pandavas were tricked into exile by Duryodhana. They had to spend 12 years in the forest plus 1 year living incognito somewhere in the empire. The kingdom was to be returned to them after they had fulfilled these conditions. The Pandavas served this term of 13 years and came back to claim their kingdom. However, Duryodhana would not give it back to them, and therefore war was declared. They could choose to either go back to the forest or take the kingdom back in battle. All possible compromises were put forward, but Duryodhana would not give one needle point of land to the Pandavas. It had therefore become a problem of justice, Dharma. The problem of justice, Dharma. Dharma here means that which has to be done. Rulers also have their Dharma in that there are certain things that must be done by them. The kingdom belonged to the Pandavas, and Yudhishthira in fact was the ruler. Is it Yudhishthira or Yudhishthir? I think I said that wrong.
Yudhishthira.
Okay. Every minute that Duryodhana continued to occupy the throne confirmed adharma for which the Pandavas were responsible. There was therefore no other way but to accept the challenge and to fight it out. Duryodhana had gathered the support of most of the important kings within the empire by bribing them in various ways. He had the power in his hands to do this. Some of the kings joined the Pandavas too. In this situation, Kṛṣṇa was another force to be reckoned with. His kingdom was Dwaraka on the west coast in Gujarat. Kṛṣṇa had a well-known and very valorous army of Narayanas. Narayanas. Duryodhana thought that Krishna's support would tilt the balance. Although Duryodhana's army was bigger than that of the Pandavas, and he had great stalwarts like Bhishma and Drona in his ranks, he felt that Krishna's army would make the difference between victory and defeat. Therefore, he went to Krishna's palace to seek his help. Kṛṣṇa was resting at the time. Duryodhana was the first one to arrive. He saw that Krishna was sleeping. He found a nice chair at the head end of the sleeping Krishna and sat on it, waiting for Krishna to wake up. Arjuna also arrived shortly, and he had come for the same reason. And since Krishna was sleeping, he stood with folded hands at Krishna's feet. To Arjuna, Krishna was not just a king. Through his mother, Kunti, they were related, but Arjuna knew Krishna to be more than an ordinary mortal. He had not yet recognized him as his guru, but he did recognize him as a person of extraordinary powers, caliber, and wisdom. Rumor had it that Krishna was an incarnation of the Lord, that he was an avatara. In fact, many members of Arjuna's family worshipped him. Arjuna's uncle Vidura and his wife looked upon Krishna as the Lord, as did Arjuna's brothers, their wife Draupadi, and their mother Kunti. Arjuna recognized him more or less in the same way and wanted his help. This recognition of Krishna as an avatar is an important aspect of the Gita. Duryodhana knew
I'll
why
pause
Arjuna.
a little bit. So, this is a nice point that Pujaswamiji makes here, which is when you are in when you are contemporary or contemporaneous with another individual, the greatness of that individual is only recognized several generations later. The greatness doesn't become evident. You know, take the example of a classic, a novel, a song, a movie. Things don't become instant classics. It takes some fermentation, a process of waiting, and a process of, I guess, it shows its evergreen nature. A film that you can watch over and over again, decade after decade after decade, and never grows old. It's a classic. A book that you could read after 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever X number of years, that's a classic. Or a song that you could listen to. Today you listen to Mozart, you listen to Beethoven. Those are classic compositions, classic pieces. So similarly, when there's an avatara or a great Mahatma who's walking amongst us, it may not be so evident that this is a great Mahatma, this is an avatara, this is somebody who's extraordinary. And so there is always debate and there's always speculation in the midst of being around in the same time period as that person. And such was also the case with Krishna Bhagwan. And if you see the Ramayana, similar case, which is there was this, oh, is he an avatar, is he not an avatar, that kind of like discussion. But of course, after the fact, it is well acknowledged that Krishna Bhagwan was an avatar. But it is very interesting to see that if we place ourselves in the shoes of Arjuna and other people in his family and society, how they looked upon Krishna in those days, and how with greater conviction we look upon Krishna today. It's very interesting to see. If you also juxtapose that situation with ourselves today living in the modern period, can we recognize some of the Mahatmas who are with us today as great Mahatmas or Avtaras? Or do we have to wait a few generations to figure it out? I guess, like, for some of us, maybe the answer is more evident than others, but like, such is the mystery of life that, the appreciation only comes later, not in the moment. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah, please, you can continue.
Duryodhana knew why Arjuna had come, and Arjuna also knew why Duryodhana was there. As he opened his eyes, Krishna saw Arjuna first. Duryodhana, no doubt, made his presence known, perhaps by clearing his throat. Krishna then turned to him and asked what he could do for him. He then put the same question to Arjuna. Duryodhana responded by saying, "You know why we have come, why I have come. I seek your support." He also added, "I was the first to arrive and therefore my request should be entertained first." Arjuna also said, "War has been declared and I am asking for your support." Krishna's proposal. Krishna was now in a great fix, but he was an adept at getting out of such tight situations. To both of them, he made a proposal. He said, "If I join either of you, I will not fight. You have a choice between me, who will not lift a weapon, on one hand, and my army on the other hand. If you choose me, you will be choosing the person, Kṛṣṇa, Mayor Kṛṣṇa, who refuses to fight. Kṛṣṇa was known to be a great fighter. Even as a child, he had knocked out Kamsa and had dealt with hordes of demonic people. To have such a fighter on your side would be a great asset. But this was not Krishna's proposal. Instead, he said, Arjuna, I happen to see you first even though Duryodhana claims to have arrived first. However, because you are the younger of the two, you have the chance to choose first. The younger ones are entitled to this privilege. Therefore, I am proposing this to you and ask you to choose one of the two options. That is, Krishna, who will not fight on one side, and the army of the Narayanas on the other side. If you choose me, I am not going to fight. I will come to your side and perhaps give some advice. But the army will go to Duryodhana. If you choose the army instead of me, then Duryodhana must take me. Krishna issued this proposal to Arjuna, knowing what his choice would be. He also knew what Duryodhana would prefer. As he expected, Arjuna chose Krishna's services, whatever they would be and in whichever form they would be available. This is what Arjuna wanted, and so he said, Krishna, please come to me. If Duryodhana ever prayed in his life, this was surely the time he prayed, and his prayers were answered, because he taught the Pandavas to be sentimental and born losers. Duryodhana expected Arjuna to ask for Krishna. He certainly did not want Krishna for himself. He would only be another mouth to feed during wartime when food was necessarily rationed. In addition, Krishna, being a respected person, Duryodhana would have to take good care of him. Duryodhana did not want to be continually torn between taking care of Krishna and thinking about the war. A fighting Krishna would have been something to think over, but a non-fighting Krishna, a mere Krishna, would be useless to him, he thought. Duryodhana wanted Arjuna to ask for Krishna so that he would get Krishna's army, and this was exactly how it worked out. He returned to his camp rejoicing. Duryodhana had made his day. He was sure that he would win the war. The Krishna's army meant crack divisions with men who were fit to fight, adding greatly to his already enormous strength. Arjuna was equally happy. He knew Duryodhana was ecstatic, and he also knew what Duryodhana thought of him. Duryodhana's attitude and value structure was such that he would definitely look down on Arjuna and his preference. But Arjuna knew that with Krishna by his side, he would win the war. Sanjaya expresses the same idea in the last verse of the Gita.
Want me to read it?
Please.
Yatra Yogeshwarah Krishno Yatra Patho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhute Dhruva Nitirmatir Mama.
Wherever Lord Krishna is, wherever Arjuna is, with his bow in hand, ready to fight, there all wealth, victory, glory, and justice will be.
Any questions so far? I know we've read quite a lot. Thank you, Nikita. All clear? I think this was more of an exposition of what's leading up to this. But yeah, I would say, the dilemma that Arjuna was presented with, it's a beautiful dilemma, but don't see it just as a mere story. Because if you extrapolate the lessons from this to our lives, almost every choice that you make, you will be faced with the same dilemma. Now, the obvious question would be that, wait, hold on. I don't have to fight a war. I don't have to choose Krishna versus his army. So what exactly are we talking about here? How is it relevant to me? The relevance over here is Krishna Bhagwan. If you see the shloka, wherever Lord Krishna is, wherever Arjuna is, there will be wealth, victory, glory, and justice whenever they are together. Arjuna stands for the dharmi, the one who follows dharma, the one who abides by the order, the laws, the cosmic laws. And Krishna Bhagwan stands for those laws themselves. For Bhagwan stands for the order. We've heard this expression, right? The order, as Pujya Samji explains it. The order is every order that you can think about that holds the world together. That is a manifestation of Ishvara. The order is a manifestation of Bhagwan. So therefore, Krishna Bhagwan here represents the order, and Arjuna represents the one who abides by this order, which is that the order is always on the side of the one who is abiding by this order. And what I mean by this is, basic example, fire is hot. If you go and touch fire, you're going against the order because it is going to cause bodily harm to you. But if you respect the heat of fire, you can put it to use. You can use it as a bonfire. You could use it as a I guess in your fireplace when it's cold. You could use it to drive a steam engine. You could do a lot of wonderful things with fire. But you know enough not to touch it. Right? You don't mess with it because there's a certain order that governs your interaction with fire. Likewise, there's a certain order where you can use gravity to store, water up sort of up a hill, and then it can come down with force and it can come out of a pipe even without an engine. But at the same time, you don't jump from a mountain or something because it's going to hurt you, it's going to kill you, because that would also be going against the order. So in every decision that we make in life, there is an element of this order that one has to choose to abide by, which is dharma. And there are certain choices and certain results which may come to us, which may seem more convenient to us, which are going against the order. And the convenient result here is the one that Duryodhana chose. And the correct one is what Arjuna chose. Arjuna chose dharma. Duryodhana chose adharma. And that is why it says that wherever Krishna, which is dharma, and the dharmi are together, victory will always be ensured. So today, let's say if you're walking on the road and you see somebody's wallet fall out of their back pocket. So you have two choices, right? One is you can pick it up and put it in your pocket. Or you can go and run up to the person, tap him on the shoulder and be like, excuse me, I think you dropped this. This is yours. Now, in the first option, you're getting something. You're getting a reward. You're getting that wallet, whatever money might be contained within is yours now. But you're losing something. You're losing Krishna. You're losing Dharma. And in the second option, you may not get the contents of that wallet, but you're getting something far greater. And what you're getting over here is a greater degree of abidance to Dharma. The more you abide by Dharma, the greater it will contribute to your success in all walks of life. You will be a person of integrity. You will be a person of character. You will be a person of great, great morals. You'll be a person who will be able to attain the goal of Chitta Shuddhi, which will enable you to better assimilate and absorb these teachings. So, therefore, what you've gained by giving up that wallet is a lot more than what you would have gained by keeping the wallet with you. In fact, what you lost over there is enormous, it's uncountable. So, that is what Krishna Bhagwan and that example that we just looked at represents, which is always choose the side of Dharma, no matter what the stakes are. Sometimes it might be difficult, and we all cut corners, right? Is there anybody who has not cut corners in life? Very, very rarely is there a person who has never done that. I certainly haven't. So we just have to analyze our life, our actions, the choices that we make, and just try to think about it whether it is going against the order or whether we are going with the flow of the order. To the extent possible, try to optimize the choices. Okay. Any questions here, or shall we proceed? Okay, let's proceed. Sorry.
The unknown factor, Deva. In Arjuna's mind, this was very clear. Arjuna knew he had all the weapons and the skill that he required. Nevertheless, he also knew he had to allow for one more thing, the unknown factor, Daiva. A dharmika, one who is committed to a life of Dharma, appreciates his or her limitations and then takes this one step beyond, recognizing that success is ultimately possible only because of this unknown factor, Daiva. Later in the Gita, Bhagwan himself talks about this. Daiva is a factor over which you have no control at all, a factor that makes the difference between success and failure, between victory and defeat. We often call this unknown factor luck, good luck, and bad luck. In all cultures, I suppose, there are equivalents for these two words because people have to account for a factor that seems to work favorably or otherwise. Even a hard boiled dialectical materialist has to miss a bus occasionally and is constrained to say, I was unlucky. Catching the bus early than, than expected is also an uncommon event. This unknown factor is viewed here as a divine factor, the unknown invisible adrishta, explained earlier in the introduction. It represents an order and is called the law of karma, the law of dharma. The factor is not visible, but the results that are reaped by us are seen very clearly. The results are drishta, whereas the causes are adrishta.
Does this make sense? Or does it require elaboration?
Please.
Sure. So drishta means that which is visible, apparent. It's there. This is a phone, it's visible to you. Adrishta means it is yet unmanifest. So some results are drishta immediately. You clap. There's a sound that comes. It is an evident sound. It is drishta. But now, sometimes, okay, I don't know, randomly you go on the street, you slap somebody. That person slaps you right back. Action, result. You got the result right there and there. Okay, so it's nullified. You did something, that person did something, over. But what if you slap somebody and you run away and they can't catch you? Now the result of that is adrishta. Someday in life, it may not be in the form of a slap, but somehow, somewhere, that karma will come back to you, whatever you've done. Likewise for a good deed. Right? Okay. Let's say you work hard, you go to a job, you work, you put in your labor, you earn a salary. There's an action, there's a result, right? You now I sort of hesitate to say that it is equivalent over there because some people may put an equal amount of effort as another person, but one person may earn more and one person may earn less. Sometimes it's also possible that a person may put in less effort and make more money than a person who puts in more effort and makes less money. That's also possible because different people have different jobs and different uh, countries, things like that. A lot of differences are there. So how do you account for that? That's not an exactly equivalent example, but let's say you've done some karma in the past, which is compounding with the current karma that you're doing in the present, and both of those added together may give you a greater result compared to somebody else who may not have that same amount of punya karma done in the past, which is currently manifesting in the form of an equivalent amount of result. Does that make sense? So the way the karma phala comes to us is not always evident. It is adrashta because it is not apparent to us. It is not known where it's coming from. The causes of this result is therefore adrashta, but the result, whether it is in the form of an immediate slap, or in the form of a delayed slap, or in the form of salary, or in the form of an inheritance, or in the form of being born in a certain family, all of those causes, why this happened, how it happened, what led to it, those are unknown. It is adrashta. So if you are a secular person, if you are a materialist, you will say it is luck. Good luck, bad luck. Lot of good luck, lot of bad luck. and little time mix of the two sometimes. As a Hindu, as a Dharmi, as a Sanatana Dharmi, what we say is this is karma phala, not luck. Good luck is punya karma. Bad luck is papa karma. And that is how it works. And we recognize this karma as a result of our own actions. If I don't like to tell people good luck or wish them luck or whatever, because it is denying the order. Luck is arbitrary, isn't it? Suppose you say I got lucky or I got unlucky. Doesn't it sound a little bit like there was some randomness associated with it? Right? It sounds like somebody tossed a coin and I got lucky or unlucky. The concept of luck is against the concept of karma, because nothing comes to you that you have not earned. You reap what you sow. It is not that suddenly some random result will come to you that you have not earned in the past. Therefore, we should sometimes even question our vocabulary. And perhaps if you use the expression luck, at least understand it as karma. If you understand it, sure, you can use it, but don't use it by not understanding it well. That's what I would say. Okay. Any questions here? All right. We can proceed with one more section and then we'll close.
Qualities of a mature person. The one who does not leave the adrishta to the hands of chance, the one who does something to change the adrishta, is considered to be a bhakta and is religiously mature. You may call such a person a religious person, but I would refer to him or her as a mature person who recognizes unseen hands that shape and are behind these known hands. Such hands are not the hands of chance. They are the hands of the law, hands that are the law and are looked upon as the Lord. The law is not separate from the Lord, and the wielder of the laws is also the Lord. Throughout the Gita, Krishna describes a person who recognizes this factor and at the same time recognizes the necessity of his or her own effort as a mature person, a yogi. A mature person is one who has a fear of a dharma, one who tries to conform to the dharma. Dharmaputra, his four brothers, and his entire family underwent many privations for a long period of time only because of their commitment to dharma. Having such a commitment, Arjuna naturally recognized his own prowess and believed in his skills. He had self-confidence and was a person who knew the importance of effort. He did not keep beseeching the Lord, please give me, give me, give me. He knew that would not work.
Wonderful. So, just one comment on this particular part. When we talk about fear of dharma, that's how it starts, right? Every religion has this fear that they instill in people. We outgrow that fear. It is not a fear except in the beginning. A little bit of fear is not necessarily a bad thing to start with. That is what Pujya Swamiji intends to explain over here. And what I mean by that is, there is something called Naraka. There is something called Swarga. If you've committed a lot of atrocities in your life, you will be born in this place called Naraka. Naraka is not a place like a planet or whatever, it's a realm. It's a realm. And there are different levels of this Naraka where things get increasingly worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's just, you don't want to be born there. Let's put it that way. You'll get clawed at by, these vultures, and you'll get, stabbed by spears, and these demons will keep poking you and make you bleed, and a lot of things can happen over there, right? So it's a realm of experience where you go, where you are almost entirely exhausting a lot of pap karma that has been done in the past. Now let's say we are all hopefully unlikely to go to Naraka unless we've who knows? Maybe in another Janma we've done something really, really terrible, which which we need to be cleansed of, which we need to experience as a karma phala. But at least, assuming that most of you are decent people, in this life you've not done anything of uh, great himsa, like a maha himsa of sorts, and you've not been a constant source of cruelty to others in your life and things like that, the likelihood of going to Naraka is very low. That being said, we are also mature enough to understand that this order that we speak about is not a form of punishment that somehow you are judged by some sanctified being somewhere who says that you committed some blasphemy or whatever. No, we obviously don't accept those things. We accept that there is a law of karma which is accommodated within the larger framework of dharma. And the law of karma is a law of actions and results. That's what it is. Cause and effect. So we accept that. But now consider somebody who may not have the same level of exposure as us, the same opportunities as us to have studied these teachings. That person may live somewhat of an animalistic life without giving much concern to the repercussions of his actions. And that person may benefit from a certain fear that, okay, maybe values and morality do not appeal to this person. The person doesn't care so much for other people. The person may not have a lot of sympathy or empathy for other people. So obviously, it is not going to be very helpful to try to explain to the person why you should not be such a nasty person. Therefore, this person who may be a little self-centered, who may not have much, um, I guess, concern causing pain to others, he may still be self-centered enough to not want to cause pain to himself. And so by saying that, okay, I understand that you don't care so much for what you do to other people, but what about for your own future? What about the results that you will one day have to experience? For such people, fear of naraka, fear of negative consequences even in this life, just by accepting the law of karma itself, is a very good detractor from doing those things, right? It's a detractor. And not just for people of that level of immaturity and that level of callousness, but even for children. Today, like, if you're like a very young child, you'll say, oh, there's this, if you don't do this, then you will not get gifts from Santa Claus, right? And something like that, whatever. You will speak about consequences in a way that either seems like a punishment or it seems like a deprivation of a reward, whatever it may be. In some way or the other, you're trying to like instill a certain fear of an outcome that they don't want to experience. So that is what this fear is, right? That not everybody has the same level of maturity that we may be blessed with, perhaps. It's not something to be very proud of, but it's just a blessing that we have that, okay, we are studying Vedanta, so we understand the value of Chitta Shuddhi. But take your average Tom, Dick, and Harry just on the road or wherever for that matter. For such a person, fear is a good detractor from not committing a lot of crimes. Society has inbuilt mechanisms to instill fear as well. Today, you have a prison system. You know that if you commit a crime, there are people ready to prosecute you and send you to jail. So there is that fear. You can imagine, hypothetically, how many people in society would become criminals if crime was not unlawful. Many people may not do the wrong things if there are no consequences attached to doing those wrong things, right? So therefore, again, one has to understand that fear can play a very potent role in at least conditioning us to start with to become a better person, to reform ourselves. Another thing is that there are certain legitimate fears that we have which are inbuilt into our psyche as well. Does anybody, I don't know, some people do perhaps, but does anybody find pandas cute? Anyone? Pandas are cute? Not okay, they're cute. You might like dogs, you might like cats. How many people find alligators and snakes cute? Not very. There might be a few people, maybe in the world somewhere out there, who have pet snakes. Some people do. But for the most part, a newborn child is not going to go out of their way to pet a snake or to pet a lizard or to pet a some kind of a scary looking creature. The reason is that our ancient ancestors lived arboreal lives. We lived on the trees. These ancient shrews who were like the precursors of uh, our ape ancestors, and these shrews were hunted by snakes and other similar predators, and so there was a natural fear of these predators that has been ingrained into the mammalian psyche typically. So therefore we have this fear because we know that snakes are venomous. Some of them are, and at least they're not to be trifled with. And so that fear that is innate to us to stay away from certain creatures also is part of the order. Fear is part of the order because that tells us don't mess with this creature. And we tend to find those creatures cute which are less likely to attack us. It's beautiful, isn't it? So the domesticated animals, the domesticated creatures, we find them adorable. You like horses, you like goats, you like donkeys, you like cows because they're not going to attack you. They're not going to try to eat you, deer and other animals. But some animals might. And therefore, there is a natural fear of these animals, which doesn't have to be taught. It is innate to us in our genetics, in our psyche, in our ancestral memory, and that is also part of the order. So one has to understand that fear can become a good friend of ours, and we don't have to be afraid of being afraid, which is very beautiful. Another very common fear that people have is fear of heights. Some people develop vertigo when they climb a ladder because somewhere again there is this ancestral memory that you could fall from great heights, you could hurt yourself. And so it is again inbuilt into one's psyche to be more cautious when one is climbing heights. So there is again that fear. There are many fears. Claustrophobia. Maybe you're in a cave. Our ancient ancestors might be caught in a landslide, or maybe there was an earthquake and they were caved in. No pun intended. But again, claustrophobia. We don't like to be stuck under a bed. Like I think I have mild claustrophobia. At least I did when I was a child. Now I've rationalized it, of course. But like if sometimes if you're, I don't know if anybody else has this, but if you're wearing very tight clothes that your mother is trying to put on you, and the neck is too tight and doesn't like go down completely, and you feel very claustrophobic, right? That's claustrophobia. Or like if you're stuck in a tight place somewhere, if you're hiding under your bed, you're playing hide and seek, and somewhere you find it difficult to get out, you start panicking. Sometimes if you're putting on a ring and that ring becomes too tight because your finger is swollen overnight because you've eaten some crappy, high sodium food and you can't remove it, you start panicking, right? Has anybody had slight experiences of these things? Little bit? Valid fears. Again, ancestral memory. So learn to come to terms with your fear, respect the fear, invite the fear, and the fear will go away. But if you try to battle the fear by kind of turning antagonistic against it, then we are not understanding what the fear can teach us. The fear is here to teach us something very valuable. Swami Brahmaprajnanaji has put together a very beautiful video of how different emotions that we call negative emotions can actually teach us very important lessons. So I'll be sure to send it out to you guys. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share. Any thoughts over here before we close? Okay. So we'll meet next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Stop the recording.